Have you ever noticed that some people can say something completely ordinary and the whole room stops and listens carefully, and others can say something genuinely interesting and nobody really reacts? The difference isn't what they're saying, it's how they're saying it. Most people think that they win others over with facts and arguments, but in reality, it's almost entirely your delivery that determines whether people actually listen, believe, and remember you. So before you spend hours trying to find the perfect thing to say, you'd be much better off spending 10 minutes on how you say it. So in this video, I'm going to give you 5 things you can apply immediately that will make everything you say become way more powerful. Let's start with the foundation. 1. Conviction over content. Most guys don't realize this, but it almost doesn't matter what you say. What matters is how much you seem to believe it. Listen to the difference between these two sentences. I think maybe we could try going that way. I don't know. It might work. We're going that way. Trust me. Same information, but a completely different effect. One of them makes you want to follow and the other makes you want to look for someone else to lead. You can also see this in famous people. For example, Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, it doesn't matter. The guy walks into a room and says things that on paper shouldn't work. No nuance, no complex arguments, sometimes barely any logic. And yet millions of people believe every word. Because he never sounds like he's even considering the possibility that he might be wrong. Not for a single second. He speaks like the outcome is already decided and everyone else just hasn't caught up yet. That certainty, that complete conviction, is what makes people follow him. Not the content, the delivery. So here's how you can apply this. Before you say something, decide you believe it. Not halfway, not with a question mark at the end, fully. Drop the upward tone at the end of your sentences. Stop adding I think, or maybe, or I'm not sure before everything. Just say the thing, like you mean it. That's what makes people believe and follow you, but even the most convicted delivery falls flat if people drift away after a few sentences, and that's exactly what the next point fixes. 2. Speak in pictures. Have you ever listened to someone talk and suddenly realized you have no idea what they just said? Your mind just drifted away completely. It's not that they're talking about something complicated, the topic is simple, you're just completely checked out. Nothing they're saying is landing, it's all just words. That's what happens when people speak in abstract terms, facts, concepts, summaries. All of these go in one ear and out the other. The brain, which is essentially a pattern matching machine built on images, just switches off. I'm going to show you a technique that guarantees this never happens when you're the one talking. It is called speak in pictures. Let's look at an example. The project was behind schedule and the team was under a lot of pressure. Okay, completely understandable, but you don't really feel anything. It doesn't really stick. Now let's make this come alive by using the speak in pictures technique. It was Thursday night, 11 p.m. Half the team was still at their desks. Someone had ordered pizza 3 hours ago. Cold slices sitting in the open box, completely untouched. Nobody was eating, nobody was talking, and somewhere in the back of everyone's mind, the clock of the deadline was ticking louder and louder. Do you feel the difference? Both sentences say basically the same thing, but one only uses facts while the other creates a real image. You can almost feel the exhaustion in that room. The untouched pizza, the ticking clock, it puts you right there. It creates an emotion, and that's exactly why it sticks. This is also what the best storytellers, the best speakers, and the best salespeople all do instinctively. They translate everything into a specific scene, a specific moment, a specific image. Not we were stressed, but what that stress actually looked like at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. So every time you're about to say something abstract, stop and ask yourself, what does this actually look like? What would someone see if they were standing there? And then paint them a picture with your words. Your stories will become more vivid, more real, and actually trigger emotions in the people listening to you. Pictures make people feel, but even the most vivid picture loses its effect if you deliver it in a way that puts people to sleep. Which brings us to the next point. 3. Vocal variation. Imagine you're sitting in school, in a lecture, or in a business meeting. The speaker knows the material very well. The only problem, he just speaks in one goddamn continuous tone. Same pitch, same pace, same volume, from start to finish. Within 10 minutes, you're gone. Now imagine a different speaker. They slow down right before the most important point. They drop their voice slightly to pull you in. Then they speed up to create momentum. They pause completely right before the punchline. And then they deliver it with real enthusiasm. Everything feels alive. You can almost feel their passion coming through. Same room, same topic, same content. But instead of getting bored to death, you're sitting on the edge of your seat, hanging on every single word. The difference comes down to 2 words, vocal variation. Vocal variation is one of the most powerful tools in communication, and almost nobody uses it deliberately. Most people find a comfortable pace and pitch and just stay there. And the brain, which is wired to notice change and tune out sameness, stops paying attention. Here's how you can start using vocal variation to become a powerful speaker and pull everyone around you in. Speed up when you're building towards something. This creates anticipation. Slow down when you want something to land. This signals importance. Drop your volume instead of raising it when you want people to lean in, and use pauses more than you think you should. A 2-second pause before your key point does more than 5 minutes of explanation. It tells the listener, pay attention, something important is coming. The goal isn't to sound dramatic, it's to sound dynamic, like someone who's actually engaged with what they're saying, not just reading it off a teleprompter in their head. By the way, if you want to know exactly where you stand with your own communication and charisma, we've developed a free charisma score test. It calculates your exact charisma score, takes less than 5 minutes, and is completely free. You can find the link in our bio. So now you know how to make people actually feel what you're saying. But there's one habit that completely destroys your delivery, and almost everyone has it. 4. Cut the filler, the power of the pause. So, I was thinking maybe we could, kind of try a different approach. I don't know, it might be worth considering. I think we should try a different approach. One of those sounds like someone who knows what they're talking about. The other sounds like someone who got lost halfway through their own sentence. Filler words, kind of, sort of, are the number one killer of how powerful and confident you sound when you speak. And they exist for one reason. We're uncomfortable with silence, so we fill it with noise. But what most people aren't aware of, the silence is always better than the filler. A clean pause gives your words weight and makes everything you say land harder. But a string of ums and ahs makes you sound unsure of yourself and genuinely painful to listen to, even when the content is solid. Now, the first step to fixing this is awareness. Most people don't even know that they use filler words until they actually listen back to themselves. So here's what I want you to do. Go to WhatsApp and listen to the last few voice notes you sent. I guarantee you'll catch yourself using filler words like or probably more than you expected. And once you're aware of it, the fix is simple but uncomfortable. When you feel the urge to fill a gap, don't. Just stop. Let the silence sit there for a second. It will feel like an eternity to you. But to everyone else, it looks like someone who's in no rush to fill space, which is exactly what confidence looks like. So cut the filler and let the silence do the work. And speaking of silence, there's one thing that most people do immediately after saying something powerful that completely kills the impact. 5. Own the silence after you speak. There is a specific type of pain that everyone knows and almost nobody talks about. You say something, a statement, an opinion, or a joke, and right after the last word leaves your mouth, there's silence. In reality, it's only 1 or 2 seconds, but to you, it feels like an eternity. That's not what you expected. You expected an immediate reaction. So before the sentence has even had time to breathe, you're already talking again, explaining it, softening it, walking it back. I mean, that's not how I meant it. I'm just saying, and now the original statement is completely buried. The thing that might have landed, if you just let it, is gone. Replaced by a pile of explanation that signals one thing to everyone listening. That you are so insecure in yourself and what you're saying that you immediately have to justify yourself the moment there's even a second of silence. Here's what the most powerful communicators do instead. They say the thing, and then they stop. Completely. They let the silence sit there for as long as it takes. They don't rush to explain or soften or add to it. They just let it land. And that silence after a statement signals something powerful. That you actually mean it. That you're comfortable enough in what you just said to let it exist in the room without immediately defending it. And people feel that. They feel the difference between someone who speaks and owns it, and someone who speaks and immediately tries to manage how it was received. One shows confidence, the other shows insecurity and approval seeking. So say what you say, and then stop, let it land, and own the silence that follows. These are 5 things that will completely change how people experience you when you talk. Speak with conviction. Paint pictures with your words, use vocal variation, cut the filler words, and own the silence after you speak. If you're serious about mastering your presence and building real magnetic charisma, make sure to subscribe to Stravity. We give our absolute best to create high-value content that actually helps you in real life. And if you want to know how to start conversations with absolutely anyone, check out this video here.